Lesson 8, Division of Integers. Let's first begin dividing integers by reminding ourselves how to multiply integers. Do you remember the rule? Same sign is positive, different sign is negative. Well, that applies for dividing integers as well. Let's take a look at 3 divided by 5. We can see that the 3 is positive as well as the 5. Both of these values are positive, so that means that our answer will also be a positive value. Now here we have -4 divided by -7, and we can list those here, a negative divided by a negative, and we know that when those signs are the same, the answer is still positive. So let's outline this here at the bottom. If the sign of the first number is positive, or in the second case, it is negative, and the sign of the second number is positive, or in our second example, negative, meaning that both are going to be positive, then that means our answer is positive. Now, if both of the values that we're using are negative, that means our answer is still going to be positive. So remember, if the signs are the same, you will get a positive answer. All right, let's continue on. Let's say we have a -3 divided by 5. Now that is a negative number divided by a positive number, and we know that using the multiplication of integers rules, we know that a negative and a positive are different signs, so that is going to give us a negative value, and the same applies here for dividing integers. Now, if we wanted to do positive divided by a negative, we can see that those two signs are different as well. That will also give us a negative answer. So let's break this down. The sign of the first number is positive or negative. The sign of the second number is positive or negative. So that means if we have one number that is positive and one number that is negative, our answer is going to be negative. So whenever we're using different signs to divide integers, our answers are going to be negative. Now, dividing integers using the number line, we need to remember very specifically, same sign, positive answer. Different sign, negative answer. So if the divisor or the dividend is negative and one of them is positive, we know that we will get a negative quotient as our answer. Let's start by looking at this one here. Now we can see that we have a positive number being divided by a positive number. Those are the same signs, so that means that our answer is going to be positive. Now, when we're dividing, we're trying to move as close to 0 as we possibly can because we want to divide everything or share everything out evenly. Now, this dividend is the number 36, and just to make it easy, I have outlined this number line in spaces of 12. Now, why did I do that? Well, the divisor is how we're grouping this together. So this is basically saying that we have 36 parts of something and we need to put them in 12 groups each. So how many groups will we have in total if we separate them out at 12 groups? Because both of these are positive, we know that we will get a positive quotient as our answer. So we're going to start at 36 and we're going to jump 12 spaces back towards 0. That is our first jump there. Now, when we jump 12 spaces back, we landed at 24. That is not 0, so we can keep going. We're going to jump 12 more spaces there. That is our second jump. Now we've landed at 12, but we can keep going. From 12, we're going to jump 12 more spaces, and that means it took us a total of 3 groups in order to get back down to 0 from 36. So 36 divided by 12 is equal to a positive 3. Now I want you to pause the video and I want you to try this one. Please note that there is a positive number being divided by a positive number. Same sign equals positive. All right, here we have positive 14, positive 2, so we know that that's going to give us a positive answer. We're going to start at 14 and we're going to group these off in two spaces. So that's why you see I did the number line in this way. So we're going to start here at 14. How many times do we need to jump in increments of 2 to get back to 0? So we're going to jump 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times in order to get back to 0. So 14 divided by 2 is 7, and that answer is positive. Let's try another one where we have a negative number divided by a positive number. Now, what do you remember when the signs are different? Hopefully you remember that that will give you a negative answer. A negative divided by a positive is a negative. We are still trying to jump back to 0, so we are going to start at negative 42. And just like I've done with the other problems, I've made the number line very simple so that it is in increments of our divisor. So here we're at 42. We're going to jump 3 spaces towards 0. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Wow, that was 14 spaces in increments of 3 that we needed to jump to get back to 0. Negative 42 divided by a positive 3 is equal to a negative 14. So here's the check for understanding. Please make sure to hit pause and answer the question in your notebook. We have a negative number divided by a positive number, and we know that when the signs are different, that will give us a negative answer. So we have our dividend that we're going to start at. We always begin at our dividend. And we're going to divide by our divisor. And I've set up the number line so that it shows increments of 9. So let's start here at negative 27. We're going to jump 9 spaces towards 0. 1, 2, 3. So it took us 3 jumps to get back to 0. A negative 27 divided by a positive 9 is a negative 3. All right, let's continue dividing some negative integers on the number line. Remember that same sign is positive and different sign is negative. So here we have a positive number divided by a negative number, and those two signs are different. So that means that our answer will be a negative answer. Now we're going to start at 64 and we're going to jump in increments of 8. So I've outlined our number line to show that. So we start here at 64. We're going to jump 8 spaces once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times, 8 times. Exactly right. So we have a positive divided by a negative. That means our answer is going to be negative 8 because it took us 8 jumps to get back to 0. Go ahead and pause the video and let's see if you can work this one out. We have a positive number divided by a negative number. Those two signs are different, so that means our answer is going to be a negative answer. Now we're going to start at 96 and we're going to jump in increments of 12 back towards 0. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 jumps all the way back to 0. Now we need to remember a positive divided by a negative is a negative. So 96 divided by negative 12 is negative 8. We have a negative number divided by a negative number. Now those two signs are the same, and when they are the same, we know that that answer is going to be a positive answer. So negative 80 divided by negative 20 will give us a positive value. And because we're dividing integers, we're going to start at our dividend, which is -80, and we're going to jump the amount of spaces of the divisor all the way back to 0. So we're going to jump 20 spaces back towards 0, that's 1. 20 more spaces back towards 0, that's 2. 20 more spaces back towards 0, that's 3. And then 20 more spaces back to 0. And we've made it to 0 in a jump of 4 spaces. So a -80 divided by a -20 is a +4. All right, go ahead and hit the pause button, and I want you to try to work this one out on your own. Come back when you have given your best effort. Now here we have a negative number divided by a negative number, and we remember when they are the same sign, we get a positive answer. So a negative divided by a negative is a positive. We're going to start at the dividend, which is 42, or -42 in this case, and we're going to jump in increments of 3 in order to get all the way back to 0. So let's do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. It took us 14 jumps to get all the way from -42 back to 0. So -42 divided by -3 is a positive value, and that positive value is 14. Now we're going to start dividing integers here using models, and I just want to remind you that as we're using the models, same sign gives us a positive answer and different signs give us a negative answer. So it's really important that you draw the model for the dividend and you separate it into groups based on the divisor. In this lesson, we are going to use these positive tokens to represent a positive, and we're going to use these negative tokens to represent a negative. So anytime that we have the same sign token, a positive divided by a positive or a negative divided by a negative, those answers will both be positive. Now when we have different signs, for example, a positive divided by a negative or a negative divided by a positive, those answers will be negative. All right, so let's do some models for this one. So our divisor is 7. That means we're writing 28 pieces in groups of 7. Okay, so we can start either way you want to, and because those 28 pieces are positive, we're going to write plus signs there. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 makes up one group, but I need 28 in total. So I'm going to copy these and I'm going to add those right below. When I add those there, that's only 14. So I need to make sure that I'm adding a few more because that's not enough. I need to have, let's duplicate that. That makes 21. Duplicate it again. Now we have a total of 28. So in each of these sets, we have 7 pieces. And we need it to make a total of 28. So how many do we have in total? Well, we have 1 set of 7, 2 sets of 7, 3 sets of 7, 4 sets of 7. So 28 can be divided into groups of 7 4 times. Now let's double check just to make sure we understand. Positive divided by a positive is a positive. So that is absolutely true, and we can see that we have 4 groups here of 7. All right, now it's your turn to show what you know. Go ahead and hit the pause button, and I want you to show me 36 divided into groups of 4. All right. Hopefully you were able to draw this out and to show this time my groups were vertical. Last time I did horizontal groups, but this time I did vertical groups. So I did a group of 4, and I made sure that I had a total of 36 positive pieces. So how many groups can I make that are a group of 4? Well, here I can make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I can make a total of 9 groups that have 4 in each to give me a total of 36 pieces in total. So we have a positive divided by a positive, and we know that that is going to equal a positive. So 36 divided by 4 is equal to 9. Next, we have negative number divided by negative number. This one should give us a positive answer because same signs give us positive. But how do we draw this out? Well, we can show our negative 22 pieces. Let's draw that out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Nice even number. And that shows, what we just did there shows our negative 22 there. But now we're supposed to be dividing it by that negative 11. So this negative tells us that we need to change all of those negative pieces that we have to the opposite. So we're going to change them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22. So this now shows us that we have 22 positive pieces, and we want to divide those out into groups of 11. Well, we can see on this first row, this is one group of 11, and that's 11 positive pieces. Now we have a second group of 11 positive pieces. So a negative divided by a negative is a positive, and in this case, negative 22 divided by negative 11 is positive 2, because I was able to make 2 groups of 22 pieces that originally started off as negative, but were changed because we needed to divide those by a negative 11. All right, now it's your turn. I would like for you to pause the video and complete your guided notes to show negative 24 divided by negative 4. All right, welcome back. Now, negative 24 is a negative number. Negative 4 is a negative number. And because those two signs are the same, that means our answer is going to be positive. 24 divided by negative 4 is going to give us a positive answer. So let's start out drawing out our 24 pieces. Now, when I draw out my pieces, I like to show them in the groups of whatever the divisor is telling me to use. So if they say they want 4 in each group based on the divisor, then I like to separate them out into 4s until I get to 24. Now that I have 24 negative pieces here, I remember that that negative 4 tells us that I need to change all of those pieces to their opposite. So instead of having 24 negative pieces, I will go through and I'm going to have 24 positive pieces. So that is one way that we can show a negative divided by a negative using models. Now, when we continue to divide this out, how many groups do we actually get that have 4 in each group? Well, I have this group that has 4. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I have 6 total groups that have 4 in each group. A negative divided by a negative is a positive. Negative 24 divided by negative 4 is positive 6. All right, let's continue on. Let's try another one here. We have a positive number divided by a negative number. Now we can see that those signs are different, so that means that our answer is going to be a negative answer. All right, first thing I would like to do is start with 36 pieces, and I remember that I'm going to write them into groups of 12. So let me quickly do that. Okay, so now I have 36 positive pieces, but I see here that my divisor is a negative, and that's telling me to change all of these to opposites. So instead of having 36 positive pieces, that means I need to change all of these to a negative. All of these should be negative. They are no longer positive because we are switching them to their opposites. So now that I have 36 negative pieces here, and I need to divide that and have groups that have 12 in them each, I can go through and count and say, okay, well, this group has 12 in it. This group has 12 in it. And this group has 12 in it. So there are 3 groups that have 12 negative pieces in each group. So what does that mean? Positive divided by a negative is a negative. Positive 36 divided by negative 12 is negative 3. All right, welcome back. Let's look at this check for understanding and see how well you can show that you understand this one. So we're going to start with 60 divided by a negative 3. So that means we have to start out with 60 positive pieces. Hopefully you were able to draw that out quickly. So I'm going to zoom through this one and draw it out for you just to show 60 positive pieces. All right, we have 60 pieces here, and we need to divide this into 3 sections. But before we can do that, we have to make sure that we're looking at this negative symbol here because it's telling us to divide by a negative 3. So that means all of the 60 that we have just drawn, we need to go back over and switch those to their opposite. All right, now we need to have this into 3 groups. So I see a group here. I see a group here. And I see a group here. So now how many are in each of those groups? And if I go through and count them, I'm going to see that there are 20 negatives that are in each of those groups. All right, so when we have a positive 60 and we divide it by a negative 3, we get a negative 20. Now, can we go back and verify that? Of course we can, because we remember our rule that we were talking about is when we have a positive number divided by a negative number, that is going to give us a negative number as an answer. Anytime that they are different, they give a negative answer. We have negative 25 divided by 5, so we are going to start with 25 negatives. So here we have a negative 25 divided by 5. So we have to figure out how to get this in 5 groups. And I think that pattern is pretty easy to see. We have 1 group here, 2 groups here, 3 groups, 4 groups, 5 groups, right? I could have gone horizontally as well because that would have also given me 1 group, 2 groups, 3 groups, 4 groups, 5 groups. It's however you decide to look at it, but we know that we're trying to figure out how many are in each group when I make 5 groups. So if I have 25 total, how many will be in each group if I have 5 groups? And that answer is negative 5. All right, we see here that we have a negative number divided by a positive number, so we know that that is equal to a negative number, and we can see that in this model. Please pause the video and complete negative 22 divided by 2, and I'll see you back here in just one moment. All right, welcome back. Thank you for completing the check for understanding. So we're going to start with negative 22, and that needs to basically be in two columns. That's how I'm reading that. So we're going to do one. Oh, I had to squeeze some in there. All right, so let's count and see how many that I have, because I know it's an equal amount. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 groups. How many can have 2 in each group? 11 groups can have that. All right. This one, if we're just simply looking at this word problem before we finish, this can just be an easy real world situation. You counted a total of 120 hands in your class. How many students were counted? Yes. So if we know that students have 2 hands and we counted 120, essentially what are they asking us to do? They're asking us to take a positive number, and that positive number is divided by another positive number. So that means these are the same signs. And when the signs are the same, we're going to get a positive answer. So if we now substitute in the values here, we have 120 because that's the total number of hands, and 2 belonging to a person or a student here. So 120 divided by 2 is a positive 60. So we can say that there were 60 students in the class if you counted a total of 120 hands.